Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of the Unpaid and Underrated podcast on NPR. I am your host, Big Joy. I'm joined here by my guests, Big Keith.
Hello.
I knew you were going to do that to me. And what are we calling you today? Big Waffle Iron? Big Waffle Stone?
Big Steve, Big Waffles, doesn't matter.
Big Steve. We'll get to the waffle stuff at some point, I assume.
Oh yeah.
Well, this is the podcast for crew, by crew, about Jaeger, and a lot of platypus talk. Let's dive right in. Because I'm actually excited to share what I'm drinking today.
Ooh.
Okay. But I want you guys to go first.
Okay, I guess I'll start.
Yep.
I'm drinking some milk out of a lift glass because I'm fancy.
Is that the first milk we've had on? I think that might be the first milk.
I like that you're just orange glazing over the lift glass.
Oh,
right.
That is. Oh, is that?
I've never seen that in my life.
You've never seen the lift glass?
No, is that some OG stuff I don't know, or did you make that?
No, that was a couple of years ago, I guess.
Oh, Carol Stream would have destroyed that on me.
Oh yeah, they had to have. Why? That's probably why they don't have them anymore. Because I'm sure 50% showed up broken.
Yeah.
Is it dishwasher safe?
I was gonna say that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got at least 2 of them.
2 dishwashers?
No, two glasses. Although, when your dishwasher breaks, you kind of start thinking about maybe I should just have a spare every appliance and just keep them in the basement or something.
I've just got hands. They do dishes pretty well.
Yeah, well, my wife has it. My wife has issues every time I wash dishes, so I'm kind of banned from that chore.
Yeah,
if you're incompetent enough at certain chores in the house, you get out of them. So
that's called weaponized incompetence.
Yeah.
I'm fairly aware of that one.
Yeah, I've never had the luxury of a dishwasher, so that is I've been hand washing dishes for 38 years.
Who was it on the podcast that was just like, what's the point? Because you got to wash them before you put them in anyway. And then you're just pre-washing them to put them in the washer so the washer can just get them wet and you feel like they're cleaner.
It just makes me think of Joe Dirt with the scrubbing bubbles.
Scrubbles, yep.
Where he goes, they do the work so you don't have to. No, I didn't.
Keith, what are you drinking?
I'm working on the road this week, and it's my last drink I have in the fridge. It's the Wegmans Mandarin Orange. So nothing fancy, but I didn't really have time to get out and buy anything. Been living that hotel life, working on the road. So it's what we got, and I'll jump to. Well, I'll never mind. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
I was going to jump to the next segment and say, and I'm not wearing a Massonomic shirt either, but you still got to tell us what you're drinking. Because
I'm pretty excited. So my wife got me this really fancy like cucumber melon mint prebiotic sparkle drink, but I told her, fuck that. I went and bought a can of hop water.
I've been hearing about that
because I wanted to hear it's all the rage on the Massonomics podcast. So this will
be the first sip.
Yeah, well, I had a bit of one the other night from Morgan's, just because I picked up the wrong can. But this is made by the Upper Thames in Woodstock, Ontario. I was there the other day. A big fancy brewery. I felt so out of place in my lift sweater and jeans. And then you got all these guys that clearly either own the construction site or own the golf course, just sitting around drinking craft beer and terrible wings. All right.
Had to be super awkward wearing your eat ass shirt, not too.
I should have worn that one, but I just came from work. All right. Let's see what Tanner says about all this. It smells like hops. Yeah.
Meh.
How far north are you, Steve? Where are you?
I'm in north central Connecticut.
Yeah, okay. Do you guys have spruce trees?
Not really, no.
Do you get spruce trees up where you are, Keith?
I don't know, man. I'm not a botanist.
All right. It's an arborist.
I'm not an arborist.
Yeah.
Her too.
So every spring, and I learned this from some of my indigenous friends, when spruce trees are growing, you'll have their dark green and then you'll have their bright green tip. And if you walk up and you just bend the bright green tip, it'll break where it's new. You don't want to do too many because that's the tree growing, but they are edible. They're soft, and they are just really high in vitamin C. What you do is you either just eat them raw. It's fantastic. Or you can just put them in your water. And that's what this tastes like. This is essentially just spruce tip water to me. But then it has that weird kind of hoppy fart aftertaste. Like you get the lemon and the citrus from it, and then you just get that weird like hoppiness there. But it's the only water I have, so we're gonna drink that before we get into the Keats.
So as a guy that doesn't drink a whole lot of fancy, beers and whatnot, I don't think I know what hops taste like or what it is like at all. Is there something hops adjacent that I might be able to relate to so I can like
spruce tips?
Yeah, no, that's the one. So
nope. Those are the only two.
Okay.
No, grapefruit. Hops generally are just highly citrusy, like pine sol.
Yeah,
pretty much what hops are.
I don't think I want to drink that.
It's lemon. It's honestly just lemony, and then the hops add this bitterness to it at the end. There's so many different kinds of hops too, right? There's bitter hops.
Wait, Keith, you didn't just randomly drink like pine sol, the cleaning supplies as a kid?
Not either. I'm sure, at what point when you're like smelling something, are you eating it? Because like, you know what I mean? Like it just in general, like, because it's all going, like you're digesting some microparticles every time that you even smell something. So in that aspect,
SMD, FDB, right?
Because some of you haven't like smelled something and like you can like almost taste it, like if it's so potent.
Yeah.
So
I can taste it on my tongue.
Yeah, it's a taste that you use your fuck. I butchered that one.
You had it there.
Damn it! Oh,
it's a taste you taste with your mouth.
Yep, there you go.
All right. So you're not wearing a Massonomic shirt. We're 10 minutes in. How are we for time?
Yeah, I did wear two this week. I only packed two, and I wore them both to the gym. And tonight's actually got complimented on, so I was pretty happy about that. The power lifter record holder, I had like two people comment on it, so I was pretty proud of that. But currently I'm not wearing one.
I see, Steve, you have one of my favorites on.
Yep, I got the sister podcast shirt on right now.
The 7-year.
Yep.
I have the flag.
Or no, this is the animated one.
300. It's a 300 episode, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I have the 7th year in red. That's it.
Yeah, I was wearing the Wolfpack one earlier today.
The Wolfpack one.
The wolf one. Massonomics on the front and then the wolf in the back.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what that one's called, but I just call it the Wolfpack one.
I think this one has a wolf on it. I'm doing the Live Large Massonomics
nice
collab. The party never ends, and God, some of my shirt. So I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but I've complained about it before. I recently just like got rid of all my smalls and moved up to mediums. Now the mediums are getting kind of tight, and I'm wondering if it's time to just back off the creatine for a bit, and like because I'm the heaviest I've been in I think ever right now, and it's not getting better. So we either have to start really tracking our food, or back off the creatine, or do something, because I'm starting to worry about having to redo my entire wardrobe again.
I did just check their website. The official name of the Massonomic shirt with the wolf on it is called the Truck Stop shirt.
Okay. Never would have gotten that one.
I think he's making that up.
To harken back.
To wolf shirts at truck stops. The 3 wolf moon.
It makes sense, so I'm not going to deny that one.
Big Kevin finally had his baby. Is that what you're telling me here?
Yeah. It was Big Kevin's wife. Congratulations to her. They, I think it was a few days ago, they posted it privately, and I think they just went public with it today.
That's fantastic. Congrats, everybody involved there, but mostly the one that did all the work.
Yes, not Kevin. Not Kevin. Congrats, Kevin's wife.
I would say so.
Exactly.
I feel like I know her name. I feel bad right now not having it on my.
I looked at it. I should have typed it in the notes. I'm not going to guess, but I knew what it was a couple months ago when I, DM'd her and had, all his show notes and everything. And I even saw it today because I was going to type it into the show notes, but yeah, dropped the ball on that. So Big Nate, go ahead and edit it in for us, and we'll be good to go. Who's
that girl? It's just yeah, make us look bad. Speaking of people whose name we don't say very often, and probably won't say anymore, they got stiffed. They got stood up. They got left behind like Big Dave's old girlfriend.
Oh yeah, big. If a lot of people might not have really caught on to that because they didn't really say it. I don't think they mentioned it in the podcast specifically who it was going to be, but the episode that we'll rate in a little bit was supposed to be Steffi Cohen as a guest, and I think she was a guest a few years ago with her then fiance Hayden. It was a good episode back in the day. Tanner had it all lined up for her to come on last week, and she just didn't show up. I think she texted him later in the evening that something just came up. So
it happens, man. They're like, it happens.
But it was just kind of funny because after the Shane Hunt thing, doing that twice, it was just kind of like, when you're listening along live and you can just kind of like see the facial reactions of the host when they're like, yeah, it's been about 40 minutes and they're not in the waiting room. It's like it's just kind of funny. I'm waiting to see if someone that does that to us at some point, but I think we would just not record because we pretty much have the guest on right off the bat. So it would,
we could record just ourselves. I mean, it's not like we don't do this very often, but I'd also like to, point out that at least we got to make the Big Dave reference there. That was really,
yes,
I was really excited to do that.
That was a good episode. I hope everyone has been enjoying that in the last week. That was our second 2-hour one too. I didn't even realize it until we got off. I was like, Jesus, that was another 2 hour, 20 minutes, something or other. So we've been
can't keep doing that. We're capping this one at 45 minutes. Sorry, Steve.
No problem with me.
I'm kidding. We've never ever done timestamps.
No. Did anyone get a chance to watch any of the YouTube videos in the last couple of weeks?
I did actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which one did you watch, Steve? Did you get both of them or just one?
I watched the Sam Sulek one, maybe an hour ago.
Same.
Actually, me too. Yep, same.
Yep.
All right. Well, what's your thoughts on the video and then Sam Sulek as a whole, I guess?
I think it was an interesting approach. Just trying to figure out how the heck he's, rising so quickly. And he seems like an odd character where he's just like, well, not even odd. It's like he's so stereotypical, like, just gym bro that is just having a good time that it makes it like refreshing, kind of like the throwback to like Omar and like Silent Mike back in the day. Kind of gives you the Jim McD vibes.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to really watch too much of Sam's stuff. I watched a few minute intro video and I was like, I don't know. As not a bodybuilder, like I could care less about anything bodybuilding related. Like give me all the powerlifting in the world, but I don't give a fuck about bodybuilding in any way, shape, or form. But it was cool, like Tanner's little wrap up video. I don't know that it motivated me to go watch any of his stuff or anything, but listening live on the episode last night, so the episode that'll be coming out, I guess, the day before this airs. Tanner, like watching Tanner's live reaction to being like, yeah, the last time I looked, he had 500,000 Instagram followers, and he looked again like a week later, so it was like 902,000. So like Tanner's like exuberant reaction to this kid doubling his Instagram followers almost was pretty cool to see live.
Mm-hmm.
I actually I knew of Sam.
Wow.
Just before we all started talking about him. From what I can gather, I mean, if I had to give my own kind of why people are liking him, I'm not going to watch his videos. That's just 20 minutes of my day that I could be doing literally anything else with. But to see somebody just genuinely talking about, I'm going to the gym, this is the pump I'm going to get, this is my food, like too many influencers now, actually I was going to make something today and I'll probably still post it. I might go outside and it's just, there's too much ragging on other people. There's too much, my haters think I can't do it, or the going to the war stuff, the let me tell you why this person's wrong. Those types of influencers, those whoop.
I love it. It's my favorite word on the podcast.
Those guys that walk around in grocery stores telling you what's not healthy and is healthy. Like all these guys are so superficial. They're so vain. They're obviously grifters that I can absolutely see why somebody like Sam comes in and he's just like, let's get a freaky pump. Look at that. Look at these arms. Look at when I do that. Like I could see why people are just suddenly into that.
Yeah.
Because we're so saturated with the other crap. And me being the fan of the anti-influencer, right? That's even how I kind of model a lot of my thoughts. I can see it. Am I gonna do anything with it? No, but anyway, that's my opinion on the thing I barely know anything about, because that's what podcasts are.
That's a fair take. So I was kind of frustrated last week. We didn't get a chance to talk about, because we ended up recording on last Wednesday. So every time we record on Wednesday, we typically will miss their YouTube video that week. So 2 weeks ago's YouTube video was the $100,000 commercial tour. So that one I actually really enjoyed, just because obviously he was clearly reading off some sort of Google Docs or Google spreadsheet. He didn't just pull his numbers out of his ass. So I'm always appreciative of details in that aspect. So I really enjoyed that. He at the end he was like, yeah, we're only up to 86, but I plan on buying this, and this, and that'll clearly put us over $100,000. So I definitely enjoyed that video.
That was his excuse to immediately spend $14,000 just to put himself over the edge.
like he needed it.
Can't be a liar.
I didn't watch that one because I actually, like I said, time is money, and money is time.
When we were at the Lift Hard Live Easy on the Sunday morning, he was talking about that the Elite FTS 45-degree hyperextension.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was at that time he was kind of hemming and hawing whether or not he was going to buy it, and then it was that's on the list. All right, we're doing it now.
I really hope that having Big Caden on the podcast right before that, and him kind of calling Tanner out to buy one, help push over just that little bit to actually get it on their wish list.
Oh yeah.
Well, good. Now Big Caden can finally get strong.
Yep. Yeah. He's after seeing his performance at Lift Hard to be the classic, he needs all the help he can get. Even though I think he totaled 600 pounds more than me, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think he went for a 430 bench or something like that.
Oh Jesus, I can't even squat 430.
I actually do like that joke, and sometimes I say it to Morgan when I'm like, I might need a deadlift bar, and she's like, why? And it's well, then I can finally get strong. And then now I can finally get strong because I bought this one piece of equipment.
Well, yeah, that's how buying equipment works, right?
Yeah.
You just need that one piece.
Yeah, just the only thing I'm missing. I need Atlas stones so that I can finally get strong.
Right.
She's not buying it. She's smarter than I am.
Well, yeah, she didn't have to buy it as long as you buy it. But I think the Atlas straw, like strongman stuff like that, when you're doing odd lifts and you're lifting something completely non-conventional, ironically would make you stronger. Because that's you're only going to get so strong doing barbell movements. You're going to get good at doing barbell movements. Whereas you start doing some odd lifts like that, you're going to build muscle and endurance in places that you're not unless you're doing these odd lifts.
With a lot of the strongman stuff, though, Atlas stones, sandbags, all of those medleys and stuff, it's still a form of a deadlift. So that's why every strongman has a really good deadlift.
Yeah.
It's just oh, today we're not going to deadlift, but we're going to do stones, and you still have to deadlift the stone up. So you always have that really strong back just from every movement is either you're working your log, you're doing log cleans or something like that. It's a form of a deadlift at some point, whether it's lower intensity or not.
Yeah, that's why when we were playing at the Stones, speaking of the Sunday morning, when we were playing with the Stones,
yep,
I still wanted to do it, but I just knew that I was not ready, not warmed up or anything. But I feel like it might be good.
No, but my first pick of the stone, I was just like, oh my God, I am so stiff from yesterday.
Yep. Well, I didn't even lift, and I just walked up and I think I did the 120, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to try the 180.
Yeah.
That's a big jump. They need to hopefully he fills that void. If there really wasn't anything between that jump, that's crazy.
Not that I was going to bother looking for.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, so yeah. Gotcha.
So speaking of the Massnomics podcast, looks like we should bring back an old segment where we rate last week's episode.
So have at it.
Keith, did you happen to get through it?
Yeah, no, I think I actually, yeah. So I listened to that entire episode live. So it was almost frustrating because I didn't have anything to do on my long drive out to Albany this week. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I always enjoy the full 2 hour ish episodes where I'm just sitting there listening along, and I think by the time they got off, there's only like three. The live recording will start out with 10, 12 people, and it pretty much will always end with like 3 or 4 at the most, typically. So it was kind of cool to be one of those last hangers on. So I don't know if I would have given it a higher rating or a lower rating if Steffi was on, but I like the boys. So since I like the boys, since our sisters are doing a good job over there, we'll go ahead and give it a 5 out of 5 JDs for last week's 2-man show.
The fair rating. What say you, Big Steve?
So I really enjoy when they don't have a guest. So like it was a solid episode. I'd give it a 5 out of 5. It was exactly what I wanted, and it kept me excited enough so that I listened to most of it on Sunday night, where normally I wait until Monday morning to listen. So
that's fair.
It really caught my attention.
I actually did listen to it all, and actually, I stopped tuning in live, if I have to be honest with you, because I prefer to listen. And I find that if I've already listened, I either catch stuff I didn't hear the first time, which is fine, but I find myself kind of just getting impatient. So I actually don't join live very often anymore, especially if I'm working late and I have to try and mess with Discord while I'm driving home or something. And that's just, on most Wednesdays I do. So I listened to the whole thing. Really enjoyed all the freaky pump talk, because that's a really funny phrase. So I'm going to give it a 5. I think we're going to settle on a 5 for that one, guys.
Yeah. So, Big Kevin, and I know you don't have anything to do this weekend, so go ahead and keep those spreadsheets up to date with our ratings for us, please.
I know, yeah, he's got to do that.
He didn't have anything else in his hands.
He's not doing it. Well, yeah. Big Steve, do you have kids?
I have 2. I've got one daughter that's 3.5 and another daughter that's 1.5. So that
most fathers wouldn't like to admit this, and I'm probably somebody's going to get mad at me for saying it. But honestly, for the first 6 months of an infant's life, the dad is just there to help the mom. We can change the diapers, we can get up, but if she's breastfeeding and if she's the primary caregiver, there's not a ton that we can accomplish, especially if she's fully breastfeeding.
Right. Yeah. We had some interesting, so my older daughter wouldn't latch.
Mm-hmm.
So it was always bottle fed. So she was an interesting case, and she was a preemie. So she was 4 pounds. So it was she's absolutely tiny where you're trying to feed her. So
yeah.
And she woke up every 2 or 3 hours. So my wife was kind of going insane with her the first, year.
Yep. But I mean, it's not to say that dads don't do anything.
No, but I got twice as much sleep as my wife. So
exactly. Yeah. It's unfortunately, it's just all on them. And that's why we respect the hell out of them. So that was last week's episode. Keith in a commercial gym. I cannot wait to hear about that.
I wasn't. It's God, so I do train a fair amount in a commercial gym when I'm on the road. I just haven't had to do it in 6 months, basically. So I feel like every time I'm at the gym, are the broccoli heads multiplying? Are just the new generation of lifters that are just so there's 3 combo racks at this gym I go to, and the same group of 6 or 7 people were just there the entire time, just I didn't even get a chance to I couldn't have got them on a combo rack if I had tried. So it's just, I don't know. I'm very spoiled in having my gym. So even when I do go to a commercial gym, even a really good commercial gym, it's still kind of all right, I want to go home now. But just having the access to a couple pieces of equipment, one thing, this is kind of surprising to hear, but the one thing I almost always go to use at a commercial gym when I'm there is the calf raise in a tibia machine if they have one, just because I've got really bad ankles. Like I broke my right ankle like 3 times and I've sprained it another like 20. So getting like just basically really good like deep stretches and mobility work via the seated calf raise is like one thing I will like refuse not to do when I'm at a commercial gym. So, but the only other thing I guess I want to comment on that is they this gym has always had like really good powerlifting equipment and stuff, but for some reason they recently got rid of a couple of Texas deadlift bars and replaced them with fucking Rogue deadlift bars, and I was just like, what? Like no federation uses this bar. Like it's not that it is it whippier than a power bar? Sure, clearly because it's skinnier, but it's not as wide as a Texas deadlift bar, which is like the standard. It's just odd to me. Like unless he got them like super cheap, it's just really weird to drop money on a RoboHile deadlift bar when there's other options that are actually used in, powerlifting meets. So that's my little rant on that.
See, so no chronicles like Tommy's got.
No, I have an SSB at every gym I go to, so it's not like an SSB.
That's why I sent the pic in the Discord of my 3 that I picked up now.
Oh, nice.
Why?
That's a lot.
Well, so I found that there was somebody on, I think it was on Marketplace that had the Kreppenstech one. So I just wanted the really old vintage one.
I hate that. I really don't like that one. I don't know.
Well, it was only $50.
Oh yeah, that's good. I think I sold mine for 100.
Yeah, and then there was another one that was an Elite FTS. So it was like that one was 150 and it was the same guy. So I was like, all right, $200. I can do that if you can drop it off at my parents' farm. Like I'll give you an extra $20 for delivery for those 2, just so I have them just in case.
Oh yeah, it's like $500 with the SSBs on the used market even, so that's a great deal.
Yeah, so it was like one of those where it was like it was so cheap that even if I'm not going to use them because I just bought the SS yoke when it was on sale like last Black Friday or something like that, because I had sold my Transformer bar. I had the version 3 and I couldn't stand it.
Yeah, I'm not a Transformer fan.
So I sold that for a bear squat, and I had the one SSB, and then I was like, all right, this is too good of a deal not to buy them. So I just, made it an investment.
Transformer bar is Kabuki. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
they've had like 5 iterations of it. Like so the brand new one might be better. Like I don't know. Like I still think the handles are way too long for a guy like me that has like a pretty big stomach. So when I'm squatting with an SSB that has like elongated handles, like I literally have nowhere to put my arms because the handles are just hitting my stomach. Like as I've had very bad luck for that, and I don't like the adjustments on it. Like I couldn't find one that felt like an SSB or like the low bar like it claims. So I don't know. I think I had like the version 3, maybe if I borrowed from my coach for like a month, and I was like, yeah, I'm not dropping like $600 on this like at all. Give me my SSB.
I had the version 3 too, and it was like my neighbors, they were in 8th grade at the time. They came over during COVID and wanted to learn how to lift, and one of them was like 95 pounds soaking wet. And like the padding is too thin so that like anyone that's really short, the bar is like almost falling off in between them because they're too small of a person. So that's why, especially with the long handles too, it was like, it was just a horrible bar for somebody that's that small, 5 foot, 95 pounds. They need a different bar. So it was just like, all right, I need something that I know everyone can use. So I went with the SS yoke.
Now, how do you like the Kreppenstech? Because I'm probably gonna piss a lot of people off. Like I hated the idea of not having hand. Like I get that you should be able to hold on to the SSB just with your, like just to have it sit on your body. But like I need my hands need to do something. I don't necessarily need to like push it up or pull it down. My hands need to be on the fucking bar. And the Kreppenstech, like there was just nowhere to put it, and it just really, I did not like it. But it's a really popular bar because I think it was the first SSB.
Yep. Yeah, I honestly haven't used it yet because I went from a cycle of SSB to giant cambered bar, and so I'm still on my 3rd week of giant cambered bar. So I haven't had a chance to use any of the other new bars that I have.
I will be curious. DM me once you use it. Let me know how you like it. But we'll probably move on from the sets and reps. I think Joey fell asleep on us.
I really liked when you said you don't know what to do with your hands because it's from Talladega
Yeah,
Nights, right?
Talladega Nights.
I don't
The
know what to
car,
do with my hands.
the car handled real good.
You've seen Talladega Nights, though, right, Keith?
I have, yeah.
It's just Anchorman you've opted out of watching, the superior of the two.
I did not love Talladega Nights. I think that's like a 5 out of 10 for me. But I don't know. I think at this point, like,
It's so quotable, though. It's so stupid that it's quotable.
I don't like stupid comedy. Like I don't. I like
bullshit.
I don't like a lot of stupid comedy. Like I guess so. I guess it's more of a, if I saw it when I was young and it was just like something that instilled in me, I was like, cool. But I'm not gonna go out of my way to watch stupid comedy now. Like Dumb and Dumber's okay, and like I grew up watching that movie, but like I don't think it's like holy grail by any means.
To go back on your first point, the first half of Talladega Nights is great. The movie is essentially destroyed after Sacha Baron Cohen comes.
Yeah.
So when he shows up in the bar, they have the whole little fight where he breaks his arm. The movie leading up to that point is incredible. And I don't think I can name a single line after that point. Except for If You Don't Chew Big Red. But that might even be before that. So like, yeah, I'll give you that. I
used to be able to quote the entire movie.
Oh, nope. I can tell you right now, after I Love Crepes, nothing. Like I couldn't even tell you what happens in the movie. I think there's a dog somewhere. The guy from Conan O'Brien, I think, is in it. He plays Sacha Baron Cohen's husband.
Yep.
Yeah, like it. Sure, all of that stuff happens.
They want to just train Komodo dragons in Sri Lanka.
Oh, and I like to party. I like to party is actually the. Why do you want to control the volume and the music at the same time? Because I like to party. Like that's the funniest response to anything. But
hey, you want to come over and play G.I. Joes?
I would challenge that you don't like stupid comedy.
I don't know.
Like, what's high level comedy to you?
I'd have to consort with the spreadsheet.
High level comedy. Like, I like Shakespeare. What you do about nothing.
Like, I think my favorite comedy of that like era, like 90s, whatever. Just like Out Cold is probably one of my favorite. Like, just
Out Cold is a really underrated.
Out Cold I would put above like, all those other movies. Honestly,
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, it's great.
It's the first movie that Zach Galifianakis was in, and it's weird because he plays a more serious role. And his brother in the movie Pigpen is essentially every character that Zach Galifianakis has played ever since.
He fucks the hole in the hot tub and gets his dick stuck in it. I think that was great.
Yeah,
not stupid though. That's definitely not stupid.
Yeah. But I was also like 14, I think, the first time I saw that movie. So like I think a lot of it is timing. So like I think a semi-relevant quote that someone told me once that is kind of along those lines is you don't miss a place, you miss a time. So you can correlate that into kind of like movies. Like would a lot of these movies we're talking about hold up today for everyone? Like, I mean, probably, but like some people will be like, yeah, that definitely doesn't hit like it did when I was a kid, or if you watched it now and you didn't see it as a kid, you'd be like, this is stupid. But since you did see it as a young adult, it's just kind of like instilled in you that, hey, I like this movie. I don't know.
So I take kind of a different perspective. I almost, so like you know when you always used to have cable and you'd have these certain movies that you'd just like you'd see that they were on, and then the next thing you know, you watched the entire movie from wherever the starting point was where you noticed it.
Yeah.
So like I try and treat all of the streaming services like that, where it's like, all right, this is a movie that I haven't seen in 10 years, but I'm going to pretend like it's on FX right now, and I'm going to just randomly watch it and see if it holds up. And most of the time it doesn't, but it's fine because it's that movie that you think, okay, this is a totally mediocre movie, but it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I don't need to see that again. I get that. All right. Well, today, guys, I want to tell you about the Massonomics podcast, who Captain America 556 rated 5 stars and said, "This podcast is like a McDonald's apple pie. You don't know it exists, but once you get it inside of you, it leaves you wanting more. Great podcast. I learned so much about nothing." Or this glowing review from Big John's favorite athlete, HL. "Would love to give you guys, these 2 guys, 6 stars because they are the best lifting podcast about nothing. However, they refuse to add timestamps, so they will have to settle for this 5-star review. If you'd like to get in on some of these amazing, hilarious reviews, head on over to whatever streaming service you use, preferably Apple, and leave a 5-star. We hit the road to 500. Let's get to 1,000. All at massonomics.com." Well, that's my sponsor read for you guys.
Well, that was a pretty good one. It's better than I could have done, so we appreciate it.
I feel like reading 5-star reviews on a podcast is really underrated.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think more people should do that. I'm glad to spearhead that campaign.
Well, it's definitely not unpaid, that's for sure.
It's definitely not unpaid. We should get our guest on the horn.
Yeah, let's see if he's drag him out of that waiting room.
All right. Big Steve, is that you?
It is. Been in this waiting room. I almost drove 300 miles in the wrong direction, but I'm here.
I feel like that's a reference to something.
It's Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, just when I think you can't screw up anymore, you totally redeem yourself. Well, you are live on the Unpaid and Underrated podcast.
Welcome, Big Steve. So Big Steve is, if people aren't familiar, he's going to go ahead and tell you where you can find him on Instagram, because he's one of those guys that doesn't like put his name in his Instagram. So go ahead and tell everybody how they can find you on Instagram and Discord if you'd like.
Yeah, so I am Big Steve Waffle Iron Gym on Discord and just Waffle Iron Gym on Instagram.
Gotcha. Well,
yeah.
Everybody go follow Waffle Iron Gym on Discord, and let's keep growing this community of crew that we're all a fan of.
And according to my my squat rack, the chalk on it says that it's a fictitious training center. So
what's fictitious, the training or the center?
Both.
That's fair. That's fair.
Steve, what brought you to Massonomics, buddy? Can you go ahead and tell us your entry to this whole thing that we're in love with?
Yeah, so there was this other podcast that Jim McD was on, and in preparation for this, I was trying to figure out when I started listening to Massonomics, and it turns out it was episode 90, which was December of 2017, right before Mark Bell's whatever he does now.
He does Power Project now, which I don't know anyone that's ever listened to more than half an episode of Power Project, but I think everyone's listened to most of that guy.
Yeah, because I got really into, my first podcast was the Powercast.
Powercast was amazing,
and I went through all of the backlog with that, and then it was like, as it was ending, it was like, all right, I need to find something new. So in 2017, I had just gotten into powerlifting, and I was like, all right, I got to listen to something else. And I searched for like lifting podcasts besides that one. And it was like World's Strongest Podcast. And I'm like, I don't know how that works, but okay. And that's where I picked up and just really got into it ever since then.
So I'm actually really jealous of that, because I was unlike you, when Powercast ended, I was just kind of floating in the wind for a couple years before I found my home at Massonomics. So you're probably one of the few people that were able to make that smooth transition, because at that time Massonomics was like, I don't know, not huge in 2017. So that was cool. You were able to find them.
Yeah, it was. I don't remember. I couldn't figure out when I got my first shirt from them, but it was back when it was basically only the beer parody shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bench Heavy, I've got the Buddy Light one. I've got a bunch of the originals, because I initially started with trying to get everything besides, I'd missed out on the Massonomics numero uno. And so I was trying to keep up with everything up until a certain point where it was like, all right, I financially can't can't afford to
Yep.
keep up with this anymore.
My dresser can't hold any more Massonomic shirts. Like I have an entire drawer just for them.
Well, and so like the high school kids started coming over because with COVID in 2020, so like my neighbors were like, "Hey, we always see you doing weird stuff outside, lifting weights and stuff. Can we come over and work out with you?" And it was like, "Yeah, sure." And that's when I was like, "All right, if they're working hard, I'll get them, whenever there was a sale or something like that, or like one of the, hey, we have, a size medium free or whatever it was with your purchase of whatever."
The Tanner special.
Yeah, exactly. So I would just give one of the neighbors one of the shirts.
That's cool.
So some of the shirts that I wish I bought for myself, I actually gave away to them in a smaller size, like the bench in 315. The neighbor that was 95 pounds has that one, and I'm still like pissed. I'm just like, damn it, I should have gotten one for myself too.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool that you were able to do that. So you said that only the ones that were working hard were able to get some of your old shirts. So I guess that's a really good time to not be hardly working.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, was there one that you wish you had got that you decided like in that time where you're like, I can't do this anymore, and now you're like 2 years later going, God, I wish I had that shirt.
I mean, definitely the bench in 315 was one, and then up until the 50-hour sale, the blue Jefferson deadlift shirt. I bought one for one of the kids that came over and lifted weights over the summer. And at the meet, I was like, I should have kept it for myself because I have the black one, but the blue just really pops. So I was just like, I should have gotten one. And then for the 50-hour sale, it was on sale, and I was like, yep, that's happening.
Nice.
But the bench in 315 definitely is one of my favorites.
Yep. So speaking of favorites, what is the favorite meet you've done, and why is it the Lift Hard, Live Easy Classic? And tell us about your whole weekend experience.
Yeah, so that was a cool experience because it was like I've met Big Eddie because he's been crazy enough that with his work, if he's an hour away, it's no problem for him. So it was like I knew him, and then we had the just Instagram group chat with the Crew Wolf Pack, which is all of us that train in some kind of conjugate style. There's like 4 or 5 of us with Eddie, Scantz, Emmett, Matt Sesney, and Dylan, the president of North Dakota. So I knew everyone, but I've only met Eddie before. And then, I meet Scantz in the airport as everyone's over at Pounders, and we're just like, damn it. We don't get to meet anyone yet. And then it was like Friday, we get to see everybody, and it's like, oh crap, everyone just gets it. So it was amazing seeing how like the Discord is like everyone is who they seem to be in the Discord. So it was a crazy time. That was by far the best. Like the only other meet, and we could get into a little bit later, that even comes close is like after my leg injury. I had a meet where I came back, and I had signed up as soon as I was cleared to put weight on my leg again. I was able to I signed up thinking I was going to squat the bar and deadlift the bar, and that was it. Just seeing if I could do that kind of thing. And I ended up doing pretty well at that meet. It was my first meet with wraps, but that's the only other meet that comes even remotely close to the Lift Hard, Live Easy, where it's like the Lift Hard, Live Easy was a tailgate party. Yeah. You know everybody. Nobody's taking anything too seriously. Nobody's jostling for, I'm going to come in first. I'm going to come in second in this division. And, so it was just it's a bunch of friends just hanging out. And it reminded me of, after high school, one of my friends had he called it the man lift competition. So it was like strongman in his backyard. And it was just like 5 or 6 guys that got together, 20-year-olds just hanging out, flipping tires and pulling cars in the backyard. And this was exactly like that, where it was like with fire, so it was that much better.
I mean, you can always just light a car on fire and deadlift it.
Yeah, I mean, we got to save room for next year, right?
And I think he had mentioned like there wasn't anyone you didn't know. I would say there was still like even at the zoo there was still like 25% of the people that did the meet. I'm like I don't think I talked to you or know you, but the cool thing is like if we all make it out next year, like you're definitely going to be like okay, I saw you last year, didn't talk to you. I'm going to make a point to talk to you this year. So
Yeah.
I feel like there will be there'll be a lot less strangers next year. Basically, everyone should be more open.
Well, by then we'll have everybody on the podcast.
Yeah, hopefully.
And like some of the guys that like you knew and you've talked to, like I'm a little bit more introverted where it comes to like if I haven't had like as many conversations with you like in DMs and stuff, I don't know you as well. So it's like I probably should have talked to a few more people more than I did, and it's just like damn it. Afterwards, it's like I should have talked to and been a little bit more outgoing with a bunch of people where it's like you didn't have time to break the ice with some people,
And then there was no time, and I've said it a bunch of times. Yeah. I showed up the Friday night, went to Tanner's. I was there at the meet. I was all day. I was at the zoo. I was at breakfast, and there are still people right now that I'm just like, I gotta wish I had more time with that person. But there was like 60 of us.
Well, and so at Tanner's house, and I still remember this, and I still regret this. So I was like. It was like the most awkward, like starstruck when Joey comes walking in, and as soon as I see him, and he's like walking off the patio, and I just go, "Big Keith," and I'm like, "Oh, you idiot! That's Joey."
Wow, that's hysterical. That did.
And I just see Joey, and Joey's like,
Did Joey actually catch that, or?
No, I don't think I did.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I think Joey's just like. So confused and just like walks by, and I'm just like, I hate myself.
that might be the funniest, if not my favorite story I think I've ever heard on this episode on this podcast. So that
because it was like I wasn't expecting to be like nervous or anything like that, and then I always do that where it's like you get a little bit of anxiety before meeting somebody that you should already know, kind of thing, and then it's just like you botch it in the first, and it's like this is gonna be awkward. Sometimes
my brain does that. It compartmentalizes something in the wrong part, and you're just like,
"Yeah,
that's not Keith. Don't say Keith. Keith." Right? Like, no, I can see that. But you did have one of, I think, my favorite things at this meet was the Hawaiian shirt. Tell us, give us anybody that doesn't know, give them the story on that.
Okay, so Eddie messaged about Hawaiian shirts in the Wolfpack group chat, and as soon as he did that, so it was similar to the situation with like cardboard cutouts where I needed to be the first. So like with the cardboard scants, I just stole the an image of Scant off of his Instagram, and it was so low resolution, but I just went with it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a horrible cutout, but it makes it that much better that it's the 6 foot one. And so with the Hawaiian shirt, as soon as Eddie did that, and I was just like, I can't let anyone beat me to this. I need to just go with it. And it was like $35. So I take the image of Tommy from, I think it was it Barbend or one of those other podcasts that don't exist? The image from him being on one of those, I stole that. And then as Tanner was doing the Dinny Stones, it was a video that I just screenshotted him at the top with his face all red. And so I did a screenshot of that and put the two of them onto the Hawaiian shirt and hope for the best. And the resolution actually came out better than I expected. So I made sure that it was, nice and bright colored, and made sure that I wore that the entire weekend. And for $38, I couldn't not do that.
Now, how did you was it just like something you ordered off the internet? Because I guess my biggest question is like, so you upload these 2 images, but how does it like auto populate to put it like 20 different images of it, or was that just a thing on Amazon that like or is it like a parody shirt like that you
so it was like Gecko Customs or something like that, and so it automatically placed all of the images wherever.
Gotcha.
So it was just dumb luck that it came out as well as it did.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that would have been tedious to like drag 30 images and like just keep duplicating that. And,
yeah, no,
strategically put them into place.
I am not tech savvy at all. So it was just uploading the images and hoping for the best, and it turned out way better than I expected.
I assume they have an algorithm that does that.
Yeah.
They take your image, because like I get them on Instagram, like get your dog's face on your.
Yeah, exactly. I think the site was Gecko Customs. Or yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one.
Well, they don't sponsor us, so we don't need to know.
Yeah. well, I've looked into other things for this coming year, but I'm still working on. I have ideas, but I haven't.
Don't say too much on here because someone will snake them from you. So careful.
No, that's fine because I couldn't figure out how to do it quite yet, and I talked to Big Jen about it. I think she's the only one that knows my next idea, but I haven't gone through with it yet. So,
well, I'd like to read a question from Scance if I could.
All right,
you okay with that, Keith?
Yeah.
All right. So Scance wants to know, what was it like when you were kicked back and watching the Massnomics podcast on YouTube after just getting back from Tanner's house, eating Taco John's? Was that almost too much saturation of Massnomics? Like, if only you guys got stuck on Brock the Rock while doing it.
Right? Cloud 9. That's all you can say. Like, that entire weekend was like everything you could imagine if you wanted to like schedule a vacation to, western northeast South Dakota. It was everything you could dream of.
It's like it's not storybook land, it was Massnomics land. Like, we wouldn't got to live all of our dreams from all of these silly things we've heard about on the internet.
Yeah, and it was I went to Taco John's with Scance and Big Ryan, Jacked and Ginger, and so we make our orders at Taco John's. I forget what I got. I got the nachos and something else, and Big Ryan's just like, wait, what are you ordering? Because it was like $25 or something like that, and he's like, I thought I could eat a lot, and I just like inhale everything, and he's like, holy, how did you do that? So I was feeling it afterwards, though.
Yeah. Olay your way to the washroom.
Yeah.
So we heard you grew up on an apple orchard as a kid. How was that? Is that like a family or a big orchard in the family?
Yeah. So my family has been in Connecticut forever. So since 1639. So my dad, my uncle, a bunch of my cousins, my brother, all live on the same farm that's been in the family for, I think my brother's son is the 12th generation now.
Jesus.
So yeah, my family doesn't move. They're very stubborn. But no, it was good. We looking back, we had everything. Like, we had a 50 by 100 barn where for a while it was a full court basketball court when you didn't have like tractors and stuff like that in there. And eventually it was only half court. But my grandfather was also a little bit eccentric. So it was like he randomly built like a 20-foot climbing wall. So we would do a lot of dumb stuff. Like we tried to make a zip line. The climbing rope that we would use for the climbing wall, we tied to a forklift and stretched out the rope with the forklift and tried to zip line into the forklift. Not our best idea, but it was a lot of fun.
Nice soft landing.
Yeah, exactly. My brother used to pole vault in high school, and we had like the giant hay bales for like the hay mazes in the fall. So like a lot of agritourism and stuff. And he would try and pole vault on top of that. And when that didn't work out, because it's like if you miss, you're falling 15 feet. So instead
onto a forklift?
No, no. Luckily, we were smart enough to
I
keep the
know, I know.
forklift away from there. But then we tried. He put his pole vault pit on the end of the dock that went into our pond, and the same problem with like if you're not landing forward in front of the dock, like sometimes when it was hot, it wasn't a big pond. It was maybe 100 feet by 100 feet, so like and 8 feet deep. So in the summer when there's like a drought, there's only a couple inches next to like where the dock was, and he would get a running start, and sometimes his pole would bend sideways, and he'd be 8 or 10 feet up in the air above the dock, and the dock's 3 feet above where the water is, and there's only 6 to 12 inches of water that he's landing in some mud, and you couldn't help but just laugh, just because it's like sucks to be you.
Yeah, that would be terrifying.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm not that coordinated, so that wasn't my issue.
So I'll admit I'm a little ignorant on just apple orchards in general. So I'm curious. Does one orchard? How many different variations of apples do you have in one orchard, or do you get are you just known for one apple and you just only grow that one apple?
No, so you have a bunch. So a lot of it was like the tourism. So you would have like all of the schools from the local towns. You'd have like kindergarten through third grade would go apple picking in the fall. So you would want like your red delicious and stuff like that holds on to the trees a little bit later in the season.
So you can attract people more throughout the year. That makes sense.
Yeah. So you have like your Macintosh and stuff like that like early Macs, late August, early September, like they're gonna be ripe, and they're a pretty good apple, but like they don't keep as well. They get kind of like mushy. Like if you try and keep them as like a storage apple, all of the flavor, all of the crunch to them just kind of like disappears. So you want to have a lot of variety. And then the McCowan, or a lot of people will call them McCoon or whatever. They were like your general all-purpose apple that like everyone likes. They're always good for eating or baking or anything. Cortland were always good for baking, and so you had a little bit of everything. But
okay.
Originally, my grandfather had a dairy farm, and in the 70s, his barn burnt down, and half of his cows were burned alive. So that's when it was like, all right, we're done with that. We're gonna go in an apple orchard and not have any issues.
So if you had to gun to your head, what's the one apple you're going to eat the rest of your life? You're going to only have one apple.
I mean,
by sheer taste, not like take the this one grows good this season, this one grows good that season. Take all your knowledge of that out of it. What's one apple you want to eat the rest of your life?
honestly, I'd say it's probably overrated, but I'd say Honeycrisp is the new. It's got that crunch, but it's also sweet, like a Gala, or something a little bit more flavorful. But it's overrated because it is better than most.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 1 acre now, and I'm up in Somers, Connecticut. But I always buy like I'll do like 1 or 2 trees every year. So I have 2 Honeycrisp trees that I planted like 3 years ago, and I've got nothing out of them. And I've got 2 Jonathans, and I forget what the other 2 are that I have. And then like 6 pear trees, and out of all 12 trees, I got 1 pear this year, and that was it.
I think Golden Delicious is my favorite apple, but I don't see them a ton, and they're expensive.
Yeah.
My kids like ambrosia, and do you guys? I don't know if you ever ended up picking them up from Costco, but they had a thing called grapples.
Okay.
And they were honestly just apples that were somehow infused with the scent of grapes.
Interesting.
It was wild. It smelled a little like a fake grape, right?
Yep.
Like the inflated balls you get from Costco or from Walmart or whatever that just had like this. It scented like grape, or like a grape marker.
Yeah.
But it was weird.
They can do wild things with like grafting all kinds of like,
yeah,
even like sweet corn, where they have like like everything's so modified now that like you could spray like Roundup over corn and it won't affect it at all. And it's just like, I don't know what you guys are doing with that stuff, but it's crazy what they can do with food and technology.
Yeah, that all sounds very dangerous. And speaking of
Yeah.
dangerous, you have a snowmobile accident story. We were dying to hear. Let's hear it, buddy.
Yeah. So in January of 2018, my dad decided at like 5 o'clock, it was getting dark, that he was going to go out for a rip on his snowmobile. And the way the farm works, there's like the wagon trails for wagon rides in the fall that goes alongside this river, the Branford River. And he decides he's going to go down the bank and go along the river instead of like on the river, instead of on the trail right next to it. And so his snowmobile fell through the ice. And so he calls my brother, and I'm down there just visiting. There's like 18 inches of snow. My brother used to fight MMA, so one of his friends had free tickets to Mohegan Sun, the casino. And so us and one of our buddies were just going to go to the casino, and we're just about to leave. And he gets the call from my dad, and it's like, "Hey, can you help? Pull the snowmobile out? I'm stuck in the river down and back." So my brother and I jump on my mom's snowmobile, drive down there, and we walk out onto the river. And I go to deadlift and apparently I pulled conventional when I should have pulled sumo. So the snowmobile track fell through the ice. So I'm standing on the ice shelf. It's a foot and a half above above where the snowmobile track is stuck. So I'm lifting that back end up. My brother's lifting the front end, and my dad's like steering the skis. And apparently my dad had given it a little bit of gas to try and like get it to crawl back up onto the ice. And as he does that, and I'm like 230 at the time, and my feet break through the ice as he's goosing it, and it has the metal studded track. So the metal studded track, as I fell onto the ground of the bottom of the river, there was because it was so cold, it was like 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So I don't know what that is in Celsius, like -10 probably. I'm just guessing. But so the river's normally only like 3 feet deep. It was like a trickle. It's like 3 inches of water. But I land on the rocks and stuff like that, and the track lands on my right leg. And so the track's spinning because my dad was trying to get it to crawl back up onto the ice. And so the metal studs of the track ripped through my leg, severed an artery, and then we're starting to grind down on the bone. And I'm just cursing, like I'm just yelling, like fuck, fuck, fuck. And my dad's just like, "What's that crazy asshole doing? Like, why is he just yelling? What the hell?" And as soon as my dad and my brother get over, like I'm still holding the track, trying to keep it from like digging further in,
getting any deeper. Yeah, wow.
And so they shut the sled off, move it off of my leg, and as soon as I see my bone, because like I look down and you just see this white thing, and as soon as I see that, I look away. And so as soon as that happens, I'm not helpful at all. I'm like laying
Obviously.
down, just I'm like
You're complete shock.
right. Yeah, you go into shock, and it's 0 out, so I'm freezing to death. Like as the blood is just like freezing to the sled too, and so I'm not helpful at all. I'm like, well, just leave me here to die. And I tell my brother, go get your pickup truck or take me to urgent care. And my brother's like, you dumbass, just stop doing anything. Just just don't do anything. And so I was lucky enough that he lifts too. So he like lifts underneath my arms, like underneath my armpits. My dad gets my legs, and they carry me out of the snow up the riverbank. My brother gets on the other snowmobile that we came down on, and he's holding my leg that's just like gushing blood, and like, you know, drives with one hand like this, and is, you know, drives up to the farm market where we're waiting for an ambulance. So luckily, you know, we were where my parents' house is and where the farm is. It's like 9 miles from Yale New Haven Hospital. So my brother gets me up to the parking lot. The ambulance meets us there, and uh, you know, it was like I'm an idiot. I'm like, instead of just staying calm, you know, I'm like hyperventilating and all of this. You know, I think when I eventually got to the hospital, my body temperature was like 91 degrees, and it was just a whole disaster. Where, you know, now my when they eventually you know, they had to take a piece of my quad and move it down to my calf to reconnect. They used a vein to reconnect the artery, and so that was like 2 weeks later, like hanging out in the hospital for 2 weeks waiting for this surgery. You know, you have 4 or 5 surgeries just to clean that area out. But it was it was an interesting one, because it was definitely the hardest thing that I've ever had to deal with.
And you told us that entire story with a smile on your face, which is shows that you've been able to, like, not necessarily put it behind you, but just like, it's crazy how you've. I don't think I could have told that story happening to me without like breaking down every time telling it, because that was the most traumatic story I might have ever heard. And I was like, as you were talking about it, like my leg started, like I could like feel the fucking metal digging into my leg. Jesus, so that's an intense. That's a life.
I put down my water and grabbed a beer during that, because I was just like, nope. Normally we'd go into unpaid and underrated directly after a story like that.
Yeah, we have this game we like to play.
Well, it's weird, because it's like, you know, like I said, like I was okay with like, okay, well, I had a bad go of it, I'm done. And then like, as you're in the hospital, you have a decision to make, where it's like, you can either be the pessimist and say poor me, or you can say, okay, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
So that's where the whole like, and honestly, like, as much as people knock social media, like seeing all of the amputees and people that had it so much worse, that have been able to overcome things, like you see the kids that are like, or an amputee that's skiing on one leg. Like, I don't want to put my, like, I still have that leg, but like, I'm not putting in a ski boot. Like,
yeah,
that seems painful. So like, there's certain things where it's like, I won't, like, I'm definitely a wuss compared to a bunch of other people, but like, you definitely have that decision of like, well, you can be an optimist or you can be a pessimist. So what are you going to choose? Like, there's no other option than just find the good in it, you know? And that was like, that injury forced me to learn a lot more about training, because like, I was only in powerlifting for 6 months before the injury happened. And, you know, it was like, I was hot shit. I think I'm doing so well. My first meet, I think I totaled like 1330. Then I went on Smoloff for squat, and my squat went from like 430 up to 500. And, you know, you think that you're going up this linear, you know, exponential growth. And then the leg injury happened. And then it was like, okay, I just want to walk again.
Yeah.
And it really forces you to think, okay, maybe this isn't, you know, we can take a step back and stop worrying about, you know, if this is strong or not. And it's, you know, you take a day at a time.
What if you had to put a percentage on it? Like, are you like, what is the legs recovery look like? Like, I mean, this was like 6 years ago or whatever. Like, that's where are you at right now?
So I was able to, as soon as I was cleared to walk, when I signed up for that other meet that I said was my second favorite meet, 16 weeks after I was cleared to put weight on that foot, I squatted 425 in reps.
Jesus.
So I was like 80% in the first year. And then it took 3 years to deadlift the 600 that I got credit for in my second meet before the injury. But I didn't lock out. It was just the USAPL had bad record keeping.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Well, it was like I knew I didn't deadlift 600, but I wanted to.
Yeah.
So it kind of ate me alive until 2020. But even I think it was in 2020. I went to Khalil Sherrod has a conjugate seminar that he did down at the Rack in Atlanta, and I got to meet like Jacob Ross and Michael Fahey and all these guys that know way more than me. And it was like my only credibility was this leg injury that I came back from, because it was like, we do the seminar, and Michael Fahey from West Side versus the World breaks out the jump mat, and I jumped like 28-1 on my first jump, and then it goes to shit, and it's like 26 afterwards. But he's like, how the hell did that? You're not supposed to be able to jump with that thing. So I definitely learned a lot from, forcing myself to want to get back to where I wanted to be. And honestly, I squatted in March. I did a USAPL meet. I squatted 518, where my best prior to the injury in 2017 was 501.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
So it sounds like you're able to maintain or gain back, all your strength and then some. But what about like pain? Like, do you have phantom pain? I mean, not phantom pain, but like you still got to have some kind of residual pain issues, right?
So I have 3 what are called hammer toes. It's where the muscle is too weak, so that the tendons like shortened, so my toes look like little hooks, and so you just put like a toe spacer on there. But like if I walk more than 6,000 to 8,000 steps, they get painful. If I'm dehydrated, I notice it a lot more. I get cramping a lot more than most. Thunderstorms, I always thought that people like, I say old people now, but like 10 years ago, when you would have like people in their 30s and 40s complaining about like, thunderstorms and like weather changes hurting them, I always thought that was, malarkey. And then it was like, oh no, the atmospheric pressure actually screws with your nerves and actually is something. Like, you don't know what you don't know until you find out. But other than that, though, it's not too bad. Where like when I first started trying to jump, so I got the just the NASM certified personal trainer certificate, just to see if I could, in 2018 in like October. And I started trying to jump, and I started with like a 6-inch like box that I tried to jump on, and that was a big step. And so now it's just like I made the stupid goal of trying to dunk now. And
I've been seeing that.
Yeah, so like I've been able to do a dodgeball to a 9'9" hoop, but I haven't gotten any further than that so far. But I also tried like a dirty bulk this year, and it did not work.
So if you had to say who was the better dunker between unpaid and underrated guest, Big Steve or Big Scott Dodds?
Oh, Big Scott Dodds by far.
You sure?
So
if you guys are listening, it sounds like at the Live Hard, Live Easy 2024, with the crazy strongman stuff they've been talking about, like the horse mats and stuff. I think we're going to put in a dunking contest.
Absolutely.
There we go. No, so when I was in college, I only weighed like 180, and the closest I ever came to actually dunking was like an alley-oop, where it was like my buddy Rocco threw a pass to me, and I almost like caught it and dunked it, but it wasn't an official dunk. And so now I'm 50 pounds heavier or 60 pounds heavier, and trying to get the dodgeball. And it's just like, I know I can't jump as high as I used to, but at the same time, this is still pretty good. So, but Scott Dodge actually was able to dunk, so he definitely wins.
Well, I guess we could frame it as currently, because I think Scott did say he's retired from dunking. So if he never dunks again, then all you got to do is just dunk once and you're golden.
Yeah.
Once he retires undefeated, you're just going to set the next crew record, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm a little bit younger than him, so I think I'm still 33 right now, so I've got time before Submasters.
And I think Big Scott might just be immortal. I don't know. Sometimes, like after having him on the podcast, like we started talking more. So because we're talking more, I just keep seeing his stuff, and like what a freaky strong man he is. And I think Scance pointed it out, right? When Scance showed a video of him doing a keg lift, and then you see Scott, and Scott's throwing the keg and catching it before lifting it, and Scance is like, who is this man? And that's when I was just like, that's when I started focusing on it. And it's just like, Jesus, that's a strong dude. Sorry, wrong guest. I'm
a big fan of Scott Dodge.
It's all crew.
He's also the number one. He's the first crew.
Yes.
Yeah, number one guy.
He's elder crew.
Because during Lift Hard, Live Easy, I was trying to find out who was in front of me because I'm number 5.
Oh, wow.
And I know Grayson is number 4. And Big Dan Bell is number 6.
Oh, you beat Dan.
She's 2 and 3.
Yep.
I mean, it was not hard to find out. You just ask Tanner.
Well, so at the meet, Tanner said that one of the people in front of me is no longer a supporting member.
Oh.
So technically we all need updates, but
wow. I wonder if it will. Now
he's probably not. He probably blow it. Knowing Tanner's just pretty good about keeping stuff like that. I don't think he's gonna blow someone in like that or anything. So
did he charge back?
We'll probably never know, honestly. Unless it's who I think it is, but that sounds like the timeline's off. So no, I don't know. Well, on a lighter note, do you want to do a little fuck? You want to do a little fuck, marry, kill?
Let's do it.
He's on a lighter note.
Fuck, marry, kill. It's all similar theme here. Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, FMK. And druthers has to be done audibly. That's the rules. Them's the rules.
All right. I'm gonna actually marry Dragon Ball Super. Fuck Dragon Ball Z and kill Dragon Ball. Because Dragon Ball Super has so many new characters that it has so much more potential. What did I say? Kill Dragon Ball because it had so much of the 80s perviness that it's just like I don't have time for Master Roshi nosebleeds all the time. And I'll always fuck with Dragon Ball Z. It's always good.
Well, I'm unfamiliar with all things Dragon Ball, so I don't know if Joey knows much about it, but I'm gonna agree with you because I don't know shit about Dragon
I don't
Ball.
know much about Dragon Ball. I did get to watch a lot of Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
And Dragon Ball Super, that's with Senior Vegeta, right? That's much later in the series where he's older.
Yeah, everyone's older, their grandparents, and
I did watch some of that one, but I don't have enough. I can name characters in Dragon Ball Z and some of the storylines and make the jokes about 3 episodes of leveling up.
Yep. Yeah, you gotta watch the last 3 episodes or 5 episodes of the Tournament of Power at Dragon Ball Super.
Mm-hmm.
The character Jiren that they created is just such a good character. Where it's he's the selfish one, but he's just way stronger than everyone else. So it's phenomenal.
Okay. Well, I would say there's one on here, and I've just been dying to ask because sometimes we hear about silly nicknames on people.
Yep.
And there's 2 of them on here that they just don't make sense.
there was a lot of backstory. I didn't want to copy and paste in it because I wanted to kind of just let him. And
So
these are from your buddy.
they call you Steamy,
So
or
that's a South Park reference.
for what episode? Like what reference?
So there was a Steamy Ray Vaughan where was it Stan? No, what was what the hell's his name?
Stan's dad.
Stan's dad does the steamy nicks where it's just him farting into the microphone.
Instead of Stevie Nicks. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Randy Marsh.
Yeah. Randy Marsh has the band, and there's like the two rednecks that are like trying to save his underpants because he's just just farting into the microphone, and you just see these creepy rednecks that are just sitting outside the barn or whatever, and they're just like, we gotta save the britches, and Randy just goes by Steamy Nicks, or Steamy Ray Vaughan was the other character that's doing the same thing. And so my friend Steve, so we called him Big Steve because he's like 6'2", and so I was always Little Steve and he was Big Steve. And then after a while, after that episode of South Park, he would always call me Steamy just because of that.
That's funny.
Okay, and then the other one on here is Hotdog Puma.
Oh, the Hotdog Puma. Oh, that's a classic one. So the Hotdog Puma, there was dollar hot dogs at the Hartford Wolfpack games for hockey. It's an AHL team. And it was only the first period, and they would limit you to 6 hot dogs per purchase.
How dare they?
So what I would do was I went up and I ordered 6 hot dogs, and then I go back to my seat and I house all 6 hot dogs. And then I would go back up to the concession stand and order 6 more hot dogs. And our buddy Rocco decided, oh, I wonder how many you can actually eat. So he also, the second time that I went and bought 6 hot dogs, I think he and somebody else, because there was like 6 of us or 8 of us that went, everyone bought like 6 hot dogs each.
Jesus Christ.
And
so we're already at 18 for you, right? At this rate?
Yeah. So
okay.
I ate, I want to say it was 18 or 19. I couldn't finish 20, but it took me the entire game. And then at the end of the game, I was so bloated.
Yeah.
And that's where the hot dog Puma came, because I was just eating them so fast that they're like, you're so smooth at this. What? You're like the hot dog Puma. And so at the end of the game, I'm like so bloated, and it was like, it was like $3 beers or something like that as you're at the game. But I was so focused on eating as many hot dogs as possible. So like I wasn't like inebriated. I was just bloated. And so then have you guys seen the movie The Ringer?
Yeah.
Where there's the one random character that just goes, when the fuck did we get ice cream? Did you get ice cream?
Yeah.
So at the end of the game at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, Hartford's a really small city. So it's like, there's nothing open. And like the downtown area, there's like just the rink where, the hockey games played. And there's like a science center and some other stuff, but there's really no like local like ice cream shops. But we of course make the comment like, all right, I need to just walk around the block or something like that. And then of course the Ringer comes up and we're like, when the fuck did we get ice cream? So we go walking around Hartford looking for ice cream, just as I can like walk and digest so that I can actually drive my car home safely.
It sounds like this hockey arena hates you.
Oh,
like
yeah.
$3 beers and $1 hot dogs. Like you probably smelled so terrible the next day.
Oh yeah. Well, so even in high school, I would do stupid stuff like that. Like the the little Debbie iced honey buns.
Yep.
Yeah.
One random so back in high school, so I graduated in 2008, and they were only 50 cents.
Jesus.
So it was like, you can buy lunch for $2.25 or whatever it was, or I could see how many honey buns I could eat. And so like I had a bunch of other friends that were like, yeah, I'll pitch in for that. I want to see how this goes. So I ate 8 iced honey buns in a 25-minute lunch period. And it was like 4,000 calories and 186 grams of fat, just to see if I could, for no reason. Like nobody else was competing with me or anything. And then like I went back. It was a history class afterwards, and the teacher was like, "What the hell's wrong with you? Like, what? Why are you so? You're normally like annoying in my class. Why is your head down?" There's like 8 honey buns. That was a bad idea.
Before you said how many you ate, I kind of was like thinking in my head, how many? So they're iced honey buns or regular honey buns? Definitely the iced ones, right?
Iced ones.
Yeah. The number in my head that I think I could eat in a sitting without like puking would have been 7. So yeah, 8 was right on par with that because I could definitely house I think 6 or 7 without an issue.
Like maybe 2 for me. Like I don't eat bread or buns or muffins or cake and shit like that. So I'd probably give up on that immediately.
That's like my guilty pleasure. Well, a lot of things are my guilty pleasure.
Yeah, like dollar hot dogs. Now yeah. Sounds like several years removed from this dollar hot dog Puma incident. What is did that like scar you for hot dogs for a while, or were you there the next season fucking eating 6 hot dogs like normal?
I think that was the last hockey game I went to.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, so the hot dog scarred you, because I sound like if you hadn't had that incident, you probably would have been there next year.
Yeah, well, it's weird because it's like it's an AHL team, because it's like I'm not really a big hockey fan, but it's fun because it's like $9 for tickets or whatever.
Mm.
But like being in Connecticut, we're an hour and a half. It doesn't matter where you are in Connecticut, you're within an hour to an hour and a half of either New York City or Boston. So like anyone that's a diehard fan is going to either watch the Rangers or the Bruins. So like Hartford's a weird area where it's like you don't have professional teams because
what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So like you only go to the AHL teams if you get like free tickets from somebody else's like business or something like that, or if you're just really bored and want to get a group of guys together.
Okay, one more hot dog question. I think we talked about it on the podcast before. Were they just like naked, just hot dogs and bread? Or
yeah.
You didn't put anything on them?
No, there's no time for that.
You're my favorite. Have you seen they're dipping it in the milk or the water just so they can get?
Oh no, that's
that's over the top, right?
Well, those are professionals, right? I'm just an amateur. I'm not gonna insult. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm better than I am. Like Joey Chestnut is what legends are made of, right? Like well, because like in college, I was always, because where my family had the farm, so it was like you're walking a lot on the farm, so I could never break 200 pounds. So anytime I would go to any fast food restaurant, my rule of thumb was always pick the 3 biggest burgers and a chicken sandwich.
Jesus.
And see how it goes, but it's going to cost you $30 back then.
Yeah, for a bit of it.
So like my bulking idea was like my mom would buy the groceries, and so sometimes she would buy like bison. So I'd do like a pound of bison. I'd cook it up, add like a dozen eggs and 6 slices of toast, bunch of cheese, and just house that. And then you feel like you're going to die for like 3 hours. And then you could go to the gym and go lift afterwards. But like that was my idea to try and bulk. It's really unhealthy.
I do like bison. I don't think I've ever had bison of eggs. But
yeah, I definitely have never done bison and eggs.
Oh yeah, you like even ground beef. It's like the eggs kind of attached to the ground beef.
It's kind of like stovetop almost.
Yeah, It's like a little scramble. It's greasy.
That certainly sounds greasy. All right. And if you guys come up with any more hot dog questions for Steve, send them his way.
For the hot dog Puma.
For the hot dog Puma.
I forgot about that nickname.
Yeah, your buddy was pretty happy with that one. Letting me know about that.
Who was that? Was that Rocco or was that my brother?
Whoever you sent me on Instagram.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was my brother, actually.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
I'm impressed that he remembered that.
I feel it's always like, I feel like I almost neglect some of the people that DM me all the information, but usually I'm like, a lot of times I'm working on 2 weeks at a time for my show notes. So It's just for our show notes. So it's just like, I'm struggling to keep track of like who this person is answering a question for. So it's just like, a lot of times I'll leave someone on red or not necessarily on red, but like I'll see that they message me the response back, but I'll try not to. I might not look at it until until I've already recorded this episode. So now I can next week's, like, as soon as it's over, I can like go look at DMs that I've already like got waiting for me.
Right.
It's been fun. But yeah, we really appreciate everyone's significant others, friends, spouses, partners, whatever that hit us up with the information. So if you're a potential guest, start thinking about who you want to give us information.
Oh, and if we ask for questions on our Instagram, try and come up with stuff that's not like such low hanging fruit.
If it's the first thing you think of, it's probably already been posted 17 times, and Joey and I have already wrote it down. So originality will get you on the podcast potentially, or your question. Well, we've got a lot more stuff, but I don't think we're going to get into too much of it. So I'm going to maybe both of us just pick one more we'd like, and then we can move into a little game.
Yeah, and it actually kind of goes along with this. So your wife says that you really like cooking from scratch, but based on everything you've told me, you eat junk. So what's got you into cooking? Like,
well, so if I came to the realization, if I eat real foods and not junk, I lose weight.
Yep.
So like, so I've got a weightlifting competition I signed up for where I have to be 224. So as long as I don't binge, I can lose a pound a day.
Okay.
So like, I just got into, like, I was late to the party on like Uncle Roger on YouTube. The like Asian stereotype comedian.
Yep, I know him. Yeah, he's funny sometimes.
Yeah, so I got into that, and then it was like Joshua Weissman. I used his recipe for pancakes, and that ruined, because like I used to always joke, like, if I were ever gonna sell out for any company, it would be Mountain Dew and Bisquick. And then I finally just made pancakes from scratch, and it was like, oh, buttermilk pancakes from scratch are way better than Bisquick. God damn it. This ruined that for me. Because in high school, we would always, back in our Mountain Dew addiction phase, like my parents have a cabin up in Vermont. So my brother and I and a bunch of our friends, because he's 2 years younger than me. So all of our friends, we would go to like BJ's or Costco, and we'd buy like a 36 pack of Mountain Dew and a 5-pound box of Bisquick. And we're like, well, that's all we need. We're good. So now it's like, all right, I've got the 2 daughters. I need to actually, Is
that an example?
Yeah. So cooking from scratch kind of cleans up my diet a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to eat a lot less chicken wings. I'd probably feel a lot less bloated. But then my wife's like, I'm going to make shepherd's pie. And I'm like, hey, that's great. That's some good home food cooking. And then I eat 2 heaping plates of just shepherd's, because I can't stop with like shepherd's pie. And it's because I love it. But it's just like, I'm like, you might as well make a little extra, because you just know I'm going at it. So then I was like, oh, I feel so bloated. Oh, shepherd's pie. And then I'm coming over here to the podcast going, I'm so bloated.
Something like that's like hard to gauge how much you're going to eat too, because it's just like, well, let me just get a ladle full in the hand, let me do another spoonful. Whereas like if you're just going to eat a big piece of steak, it's like you're just gonna eat the steak or whatever, but like something like that, you're
Yeah.
just gonna, kind of, you could easily eat like 5,000 calories of it and not really realize it because you're like, oh,
Yeah.
you just goes down nice and easy. All right, so my last question before we move into a little fun game is gonna be, tell me about the bear squat.
Yeah. So the bear squat is something that I found somebody in, I think it was Trumbull, Connecticut, was selling it for like $400. And so I was just like, you always see a bunch of people always talking about them, and it's kind of like it's like one of those machines that you don't realize that everyone used to have and used to rave about. And then like, so it's chain drive, and it's just like a squatting, machine where you add the plates to it, and the chain drive is just so smooth. So like you can jump with it, you can squat with it, you can do like lunges with it. It's essentially like a Smith machine version of an SSB. So like it's just like the perfect accessory movement. So I can band the crap out of it and just, go to town on like heavy fives. So like with squatting, I don't like doing high rep stuff because my, torso, my bracing is always going to give out first. But with the bear squat, I can kind of, not have to worry about form at all, and I can just go to town. So it's like my favorite machine one of my favorite obscure machines that I picked up, where it's just like, oh, this thing is great. I can do, split squats. I can do tempo squats. I can, do lunges, step ups. Like lately, the last few weeks, I've been doing step ups with them. And so it's a lot of fun.
That does sound really cool. I had no clue what it was when I saw it on here. So
Yeah. So it's, have you seen like the Kaiser machines? Like they have the Kaiser squat machine.
no,
Negative.
no. If trust me, if Keith hasn't seen it, then I have no clue.
Okay.
I was thinking do you have a bear squat bear? It's like a belt squat belt. I think you should get a bear squat bear.
That'd be pretty cool.
I got one tiny follow up just while we're on home gym. So like, let's just spend like 30 seconds on it. So one wish list item that you still want to add to your gym that is like actually reasonable and that you can.
Oh, reasonable. You're killing me on that one. Okay.
Yeah. So,
so reasonable gets me because I do want the Kaiser calf raise.
Yeah. Or like,
but that's $7,000. But
I look at that as like, what's one thing in your gym that you have a version of, but there's a better one you wouldn't mind updating to, but you're not necessarily.
Oh yeah. So right now I just picked up the Titan belt squat for like $400.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out, just by not lowballing that guy, he gave me it's a rusty bare steel Ohio power bar.
Oof.
But it was free with the, $400 belt squat. But eventually I do want to upgrade that to like the Rogue Rhino or something like that. Just a little bit smoother and not the like winning strength version. Cause like the Titan belt squat kind of where my legs, like as I'm mostly doing belted marches on it, and my right leg, I don't lift up as high as I'm marching. So the sleeves on it twist a little bit and the plates want to slide off. So like it works, but it's not as smooth as like the cable going straight down versions. So that's something that I would upgrade for.
Cool. Good to know. I always like kind of, pick in the ear of people that actually are like really balls deep into home gyms like that. So
there's something that I'm surprised hasn't come up, but I think we answered it already. Why Waffle Iron Gym? And is it just because of your love? Is it Bisquick?
So I'm a huge dork when it comes to like dad jokes. So like just the idea of like a waffle iron and then like iron in the gym with like iron weights and stuff like that. So I was like, it's clever and nobody had it yet. So I had to get it. And then after the fact, realizing that like learning that Aleco's like knurling on a barbell was originally because they used to be a home appliance company. So like they used to make waffle irons, and that's where they got the idea for knurling. So I was like, oh, this is brilliant. This is so much better. Like it's so much more clever than I thought when I thought I was being clever.
Nice.
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah, that's funny. I think I actually omitted that from our notes.
I wonder if there's like a way that we can track what everybody calls their gym, right? Mine's really unoriginal because when I first started naming my gym, I wasn't in the community. I didn't know, right? So we'd initially started calling it the Pit, but that was because I'd lifted in a fucking gravel pit. And my wife knows how much I like Bane, and that's where he came from in the movie, right?
Right.
It was Lazarus Pit. So I actually called it the Lazarus Pit for quite some time. But everybody calls it the Pit. So I wonder how many like dungeons and like pits and like paradises. I wonder how many we have in the crew.
Yeah,
I bet there's some duplicates too. Because I know a lot of people that call like the Shred Shack or the Shred Shed, or like there's only so many original names you can really come up, or generic. I guess there's a lot of generic. I'm speaking more like, so I'm in the home gym community on I'm in a bunch of Facebook groups, and they're like, so many people. People even want to like steal other people's gym names, and I'm just like, they're like, oh, that's a great name. I want to call my gym the No Wine Cellar. I'm like, you fucking better not. Like, fuck you. My gym name.
I guess I need to come up with a different name. Yeah, that'll happen I someday.
The Jaeger Cellar.
The Jaeger. Actually,
the Jaeger Pit.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know if I told you guys. I was talking to them about how we talk about them a lot on this podcast. And I told them that I was like, I'm still constantly going to beg you for the Jaeger lifting team. And I was like, I might even just make a one-off shirt. And they just hearted it and said, love it. So I might make a one-off Jaeger lifting team shirt.
Nice.
No, now that I said it on here, somebody's going to beat me to it. But yeah. So that's that. Speaking of sponsors, just want to shout out that today, Obsidian Ammonia launched a bunch of new stuff. So he did launch the pumpkin spice lobotomy, which is the pumpkin spice latte scented salt. But then he's got some originals that I've never seen. So he's got a tobacco scent, and he's got a menthol tobacco scent, and he's got a coffee scent. And I think he released the fireball scent as well. So if any of that's out, honestly, I really want to try the tobacco one, but unfortunately I have an entire can of ammonia sitting downstairs that I just need to get through before I can justify buying more ammonia. But if you guys want to try any of those, we do have our code now. It is unpaid. Use it at checkout, save your 15%.
Yep, give us that little royalty. Don't give it to anybody else in the crew. Make sure you use unpaid for us. And
and the nice part is, if you're in the crew and you don't have a code, you can just kind of like spread ours out. And I don't know how that would work on our end, because it's not like it's a giant commission royalty or anything like that. But it is really neat that we have one for us.
Absolutely, I was pretty happy to see that. Appreciate you getting that all in the works for us. Big Steve, I got one question before we move into unpaid and underrated. You just housed the rest of that milk that's been sitting on your table for the last 2 hours. How is that lukewarm milk, buddy? Because I almost cringed when I saw you drink that. I looked at the clock.
You can't even answer.
I'm laughing too hard. So in the show notes where there's the mention of Anchorman, I just wanted to quote, "Milk was a bad choice." And now it turns out milk was a bad choice. I also have a Canada Dry original sparkling seltzer.
What?
The plain one.
Oh, I bet that's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So
that's
everybody knows Canada Dry invented ginger ale, right? Ginger ale is a Canadian invention.
I knew it was my preferred ginger ale, but I didn't know that it was the original.
Yeah, buddy.
Give me Schweppes all day on my ginger ale take. I don't know. I like the Schweppes much better. I don't know why, but
Really?
I do.
You would.
Just better tasting.
It is not.
The other one's just too dry.
What? Give me some Vernon's. Yeah, whatever, buddy. Just wait. Does Vernon's exist? Did I just make that up?
It's got too much hop in it for me. Not that I know what the fuck that means, but
all right. We do have this game we like to play with every guest. It's called Unpaid or Underrated. I'm hoping that you've kind of gathered from the last 2 episodes which one is which.
Yep. I'll try not to be too confused by the unpaid as opposed to overrated.
Yeah. Everybody does, and that's okay.
And I have my druthers, so
unpaid is overrated.
Yep.
As in, you're not getting paid for that one. Underrated just means underrated.
Sounds good. I think I got it.
I have been messing with our list this entire time. Keith, do you want me to go first and what do the ones I added?
Sure, yeah, I got it. Switch it up.
We don't usually go this way. All right. So unpaid or underrated. Andrew Bernard from The Office.
Andrew Bernard from The Office, I'm going to say is... I'm going to say actually overrated, just because I think he is a beloved character. And so, like, because everyone loves him, he's going to have to be unpaid because everyone likes him. So he's rated as high as he could be. So yeah, I'm going unpaid.
All right. Took me a minute to figure out who that was. And is that because did people say you look like him?
Yeah. The Live Hard, Live Easy. So I forget who it was. It was like, you look exactly like Andy Bernard from The Office. And I was like, I've never got that before, but I'm okay with that.
I don't know if I see it.
Yeah, it's Ed Helms. If anybody's wondering who that is, it's Ed Helms. It's technically Egg Helms. His name is just wrong on IMDb.
Okay.
If you ever watched Auntie Donna's House of Fun, probably no. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's on Netflix. Even find some of their stuff on YouTube. It is utter silliness and insane rapid fire sketch comedy.
Okay.
And if you don't die laughing in the first episode, I would judge your sense of humor. Not judge. I would just say, like, it is just that funny. But Ed Helms actually produced it. So they have an entire skit where they call him Ed and he gets really mad at them because his name is Egg. And then he has a complete mental breakdown because he's just been named wrong his entire career. Okay.
Now, is that actually a thing or is that a bit? Like, I don't know.
It's a bit. It's totally a bit.
Okay.
But you got to commit to the bit. And then they call him Egg for the rest of the season.
I got you. Cool. Makes sense.
All right. Unpaid or underrated government auctions.
Oh, government auctions are the most underrated thing that you can have. So I don't know of many other people that have pole vault mats in their backyard, but I paid $5.37 and then had to spend $500 on a U-Haul to pick them up in New Jersey and drive them back home.
Did you win though? Oh yeah, because those are thousands of dollars, eh?
Yeah, so pre-pandemic, like brand new, they're like $12,000.
Yeah.
Since all of, with everything going on and the supply chain and all of that, they're like $20,000 now for new ones. I mean, mine are ripped and torn and mice have gotten into them, but like I'm using them as like a backstop for dodgeball now. Like I have a 16'9" carbon fiber pole vault pole rated for 215 pounds. But I don't pole vault. My brother does. I just wanted to see if he would actually get back on a pole. It was $99 with $20 freight shipping, where it was a clearance pole vault pole, where it's carbon fiber. Like it's $1,000 pole that I got for $100. So just for laughs, I wanted to see if he would actually get on it, and because his best was like 13.6 when he weighed 165 pounds. And now he's like 230. So I'm just like, dude, you got to try it. You got to try it.
Just let me record it. I promise this is for us.
Did you just tell him that the weight rating is 250, not 215?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, as kids, we always got him to do the stupid stuff. Like with my parents' cabin in Vermont, it's right on a closed down ski area. So we would go up to Vermont with our buddy Rocco, and we would have my brother climb like a really dead tree, like see how far he could climb up it. And then we try and push it down. And it was on a hill. So it was like every tree that he was falling out of a tree like 15 feet high. And then it would fall the extra 10 feet down the hill just to see if we could get him to do it. And he never said no. So we would always get him to do dumb stuff. It was great.
Okay. I have one more for you. Unpaid or underrated throwing up at Tough Mudder.
So throwing up at the Tough Mudder is underrated because it makes you feel so much better. But never drink a 12-pack of Mountain Dew and eat like a half dozen eggs and pancakes. And then, was it Spike energy drinks? Or some kind of pre-workout. And like, I think I was 23 at the time. And I thought that all of those like Tough Mudders and all of that stuff was stupid. So I intentionally didn't train for it at all. I just showed up.
Got you.
And so like, oh, I got my ass handed to me so bad. And like at the time, like I hated like the CrossFit like culture that I thought of at the time. So like I thought that it was like this big cult of just like I don't even know what. And so as I'm like a mile and a half in, I'm on the side of Mount Snow in Vermont, just puking my guts out because of all the stupid stuff that I ate beforehand. And you have all
hot dogs and honey buns.
Yeah. Well, pancakes and eggs and Mountain Dew mostly. And so it's like you have all of these like CrossFitters that are in great shape that have no problem, you know, they're breezing up the mountain. And the worst thing in the world was like they're all like giving you like inspirational, like they're cheering you on as you're getting it out. And you're just like, no, I hate you guys. I came here to defeat you, and now you're defeating me even more.
All right.
So very underrated on that because it cleared everything out. I didn't finish the Tough Mudder because I walked off after the like dangling wires that were like 100 feet from the finish line. But I was in such a like prissy mood after all of the, you know, the puking was just like a mile and a half in, and it was a 12-mile course. So it was like, I did 11.9 miles on it.
Yeah.
Like just miserable.
Did you still get your shirt then?
Sorry. No, I didn't bother with the shirt. I said,
just
screw that to the shirt. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I was Cartman. I was like, screw you guys. I'm going home.
After all of that, they're like, let's
That's the most wasted day I've ever heard of.
After all that, we're going to electrocute you. Have some fun. Yeah. No, my brother keeps trying to get me to do a Tough Mudder. I'm like, just stop asking. Like, it's not going to happen. All right, Keith, you got a few. I think I even added one there while we were chatting. So did you. You got The World Is Your Oyster.
Yeah, I got a couple I'm going to pick from. All right there, Mr. Big Steve. We got game, unpaid, and underrated. What am I going to pick? Okay, let's go with dog sledding, unpaid or underrated.
Oh, dog sledding is underrated. So in 5th grade, I realized that the Iditarod pays like $50,000 for a grand prize, and I thought that was like this world-changing thing.
I was gonna say, like, okay, what about the Iditarod? That's really fun. You went right there.
Right. So in 6th grade, was it 6th grade or 7th grade? No. What? Yeah, I think it was 6th grade. I had bought, because like on the farm, we would get paid for, you know, any work that we did. So my parents would always let us spend our money on whatever we wanted. So I had bought an Alaskan Malamute Husky Wolf mix. And then I realized that I need other dogs to train him because I was going to get into dog sledding. And luckily, my mom knew somebody that was actually into sprint racing in Connecticut. So I bought 2 lead dogs from him that were, sprint racing dogs. And they ended up intermixing and having puppies. So my brother and I in middle school got into dog sledding, and so I joined the New England Sled Dog Club, and I think it was like 3 races, and the guy that got me into it, he was buying a mid-distance dog at the end of the year annual meeting or whatever, and their main speaker was 4-time Iditarod champion Martin Boozer. So we listened to him speak, and my mom and I picked up this husky that, the guy that got me into mushing, he paid like $4,000 or $5,000 for this dog. Like, it made no sense to me because I bought my dogs from him for like $400. But my mom and I actually, during intermission, they were like, all right, we got an hour, we're gonna go eat lunch or whatever. And Martin Boozer actually had lunch at the pizza place across from the high school that we were at in Laconia, New Hampshire. He had lunch with us, and it was like, I'm like the super awkward, 12 or 13-year-old kid that didn't realize that he should have put deodorant on, but didn't. So I was the smelly guy at like 13 years old. And it's like, there's like the most accomplished dog sledder on the planet that's like set the record for fastest times. He did it in like 8 days and 22 hours. And so he's right there at the table with us. And I'm just like so shy and smelly. So I'm just like sitting there quiet and awkward. And it's like, God damn it.
You're just like, you're Big Keith.
Yeah. Yeah. Another one of those instances. So like I got my Cabela's poster with the Iditarod map like signed from him, but like here we are 20 years later, and I'm still like, why didn't I do,
why didn't I wear deodorant?
Yeah. Why couldn't I not be the smelly kid that day?
Well, that's hopefully something you got remedied.
Yeah.
Nobody likes a smelly training partner, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. We got that one figured out with the home gym now anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had to have like talks with people to wear deodorant or just not invite people back, essentially, because it's like, dude, come on. There's like, yeah, you can't be doing that. It's like a public set. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so unpaid or underrated. My number 2 here, we're gonna go with mixed martial arts. What's your feels and druthers on mixed martial arts?
So I think I'm gonna go underrated. No, actually, I'm gonna go unpaid.
Yeah.
So like it takes a lot to get good at martial arts, and like I tried like 3 weeks at my brother's gym. He was, semi-professional with mixed martial arts. So my parents never liked that he was fighting. So like all of his amateur fights, I was essentially like his chaperone in case he got knocked out or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it's really cool, but like there's so many people that try to get into it. Like you see it with like the 35-year-old like strength coaches that don't want to do any kind of like proving that they can like get themselves in better shape or whatever. So like they all default to like mixed martial arts, and they all go into like the white belt tournament, and they win a white belt tournament, but they're like, they deadlift 700, and it's like, yeah, but you're fighting a guy that's like, going through a midlife crisis and has never done any kind of sport before. So it's, it's like, I respect it, but it's unpaid. It's very overrated. Just, there's so many people that think that they're going to go somewhere. Like even with my brother, it was like, he fought a guy he ended up getting his pec torn by a guy that ended up on The Ultimate Fighter. But it's like you work your ass off so much for that like one big break, and like the big break never comes because you can call it like the whole politics of it, or like you're spending $150 a month on training, and then you have to go and like hire a boxing coach for your striking that's going to be $50 a day or $25 a day or whatever it is for the 12-week or 6-week camp. There's so much money that the amateur kids that think that they're going to go somewhere and be like the Conor McGregors, everyone thinks that they're going to be the Tom Brady's of mixed martial arts, and it's just like, no, you're just going to spend a crap ton of money at this gym and you're not going to go anywhere. And it's like a Ponzi scheme against the naive kids that are like 20 years old and want to prove themselves.
Yeah, because there's so many people doing it, and there's only really room for 10 champions or whatever, like between like all the big federations. So I have a cousin that was an All-American at Edinburgh and went on to fight in Bellator for several years, and now he's like fighting dudes in Russia because he's in his early 30s and
yeah,
he's still hanging on and doesn't want to give up like the dream. And it's he's still fighting, but he hasn't like a main card in a few years.
Yeah, like my brother fought at 170, and at one point in his career, it was after Brennan Ward had won the Bellator middleweight title. So like he won the tournament where it was like it was challenging and whatnot. And so my brother got like offered a fight for like $3,000 win or lose to fight this guy. And it's like, this guy's one weight class up, and he beat, most of the best fighters in the world. Like, you're gonna get eaten alive. No,
yeah,
you're not gonna take that fight. So yeah,
$30,000 maybe, even $10,000 maybe, but not three. Three's not life changing. That's not even gonna pay my bills for the month. So yeah, fuck
no, and like all these amateur guys, they're dropping $10,000, or they're sacrificing like not getting the full-time job that they could actually have like insurance and like a new car that doesn't break down all the time. Like even the $40,000 job is life-changing compared to like when you started out like out of college or whatever, and it's like you can actually afford your bills and stuff, and you're not driving the 96 Ram that's a piece of crap that's rusted out, and you have to pour water on the battery so that the corrosion dissipates a little bit.
All right, so we'll go into my last one for unpaid or underrated, and we're gonna go with slumber parties with crew.
Slumber parties with crew are highly underrated. So Big Scance and I stayed up just listening to the podcast on Sunday night before we had to catch our flight, and it was essentially like we were like schoolgirls just like giggling. Like we would pause the episode and laugh about something, and then it would be like, oh shit, we gotta finish this episode, we gotta go to bed, we gotta get up for the flight on Monday morning. So, and then staying at the Airbnb with Eddie and Big Matt Cesney was a lot of fun. So yeah, I highly recommend slumber parties with crew.
Nice. I'm curious if that might be like you and Scance listening to the episode. How many other times in like the history of ever have like two crew been in the same room listening to an Anasonomics episode, other than like the couple crew that are married couples and stuff? Like that probably hasn't happened very often. It's like, well, I don't think I've ever listened to a podcast with another person, let alone another crew, to like our podcast. That'd be kind of cool.
Well, and the best part of that, so like the high school kids and college kids that come over and lift weights, so they all know Scance from the cardboard cutout that's in my garage.
Yeah.
So like Matt, so I call him College Matt because there's so many Matts in the crew.
Mm-hmm.
So College Matt messages me and he's like, tell Scance I said hi. And then Scance and I are like sitting next to each other on the bed just watching Mike Israetel videos, and Scance is like, oh, I got an idea. And so we just filmed something for Matt, and then I send it to him, and he's just like, "Oh, that's so cool! I got kids to say hi to me. That's awesome."
So we need to get scanned some cameo so you can start making some money.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. All right, buddy. Well, that wraps up unpaid and underrated. We do believe you passed. We're going to go ahead and air the episode, and
I got one thing, and you moved on a little quick for me. Um, we brought up the whole idea of these kids like staying in the house and paying somebody a lot of money for their MMA dreams. That's not new because we all know about the big TK merger, right? So UFC and WWE are now owned by
Oh
the
yeah.
same company.
Yep.
Well, back in the 70s, Fabulous Moolah was doing that to people that wanted to get into wrestling.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not saying that it's new.
Well, I know, but I'm saying is like, how is it still happening? Like, like after it all came out, they took her off of the air. Like she used to have the Fabulous Moolah, like the NXT. They gave her like some women's tournament, and when this all came out, they were like, "Oh, we can't do that anymore." But there's so many old stories of these wrestling coaches grifting these kids, and everybody knows these stories. But no, this time it'll be different because MMA is real. And it's like,
Well,
come on, everybody, get your heads out of your asses.
the other thing that was nuts was the like all of the merchandising and stuff like that with MMA with the Reebok deal. I think it was Reebok, where they used to have all of these, low key local, small upstarts that were the like all of the apparel. You had I forget what the apparel company was that was getting huge. Like Tap Out.
Yeah, Tap Out. Okay. And then there's Tap Out. There was the Fight Shop or something.
Yeah. And you had a bunch of those that were up and coming, and like all of the individual fighters, they could get their own contracts with all of these apparel companies for sponsorships, and they could get like all of the random, sponsorships for their board shorts and stuff like that. And then once the Reebok deal came in, like nobody has sponsorships, like was it Roy Nelson used to have like beer nuts or something like that sponsoring him. And now it's like they took all of that away. So like all of the well-known names, your John Jones, your GSPs, all those guys, they can get sponsors that are big enough that they can, make money off of them. But like the local amateur guys that are getting, 500 to fight and 500 to, I guess they call it like 500 to show and 500 to win. Like they used to make more money off of, like a local jeweler or whoever it was that, they get sponsorships for their t-shirts and stuff like that. And all of that disappears when everything gets consolidated into, oh yeah, we have a Reebok deal.
Wow. Yep. It's nothing. And, I'm not a huge fan of MMA, but I am a huge fan of wrestling. And it's funny when MMA people be like, yeah, it's fake, buddy. It's fake, buddy. And I was like, you just give it some time. MMA is going to be called out for scripted soon. Like the wins are going to be called. Sometimes I watch and I just I'll watch with my brother and a bunch of friends or something, knowing nothing. I'll just watch the hype video.
Yep.
And I'll go, that's your winner. And I will tell you, I'm right 90% of the time because I know
absolutely.
Wrestling. So I know the work.
Well, and that's frustrating too, because it's like, so there was one, we used to always go to the fights when my brother was an active fighter. I always watched all of the fights, and we would always go to this one random bar, and they did like some promotion with some local gym for MMA training. If you picked the most fights right out of everyone in the bar, you got like a month of free training. And I'm a smart ass. So our friend Rocco was up in Vermont. He's away at college. So I write his name, and then I put somebody else's email address, and I end up picking or more fights right than everyone else, just knowing what I knew of, each fighter or whatever. They call up Rocco and say, hey, congratulations, you won a free month. And he's like, wait, what happened? Because he wasn't expecting it. But it was like, there's so many fights. Like Ryan Bader was the biggest example of that, where it was like, or even Todd Duffy, where like there were these guys that they set up to succeed, and when Ryan Bader lost to like John Jones for a number one contender fight, they just gave Ryan Bader like a prelim position where it was like whoever he fought afterwards, he just destroyed them because they needed to get his standing padded a little bit more so that he could get back up to fighting John Jones or someone like that again. He never ended up doing it, but there were so many of those guys where it was like Todd Duffy had the fastest knockout like 10 years ago. It was like a 7-second knockout. And then his second fight, he's fighting this guy, Mike Russo, who was just like the slob. And it turned out Mike Russo just like hits him, just like barely taps him on the chin, and he just drops. And like his career was over. And so it's like, there's so many random fights where it was like, it's such a bad fight and you knew it was going to be a bad matchup, but that's what they needed to do to be able to justify them getting back up to the bigger name and selling more tickets.
Yep. Well, then that's my way of working wrestling into today's episode.
All right, Steve. So with all that, I think we can move into our last segment. Do you have anything for us, buddy? Anything you want to ask us?
I do.
What you got?
So going back to equipment, because I know you love equipment as much as I do. What's a piece of equipment that you'd love to have if price and space wasn't an issue?
Hammer strength ISO row. I've multiple times thought about, well, if I get rid of my reverse hyper and I move this shelving unit a little bit further out of the gym, because I like to put things like the size of something, the footprint of something in a gym in terms of like a 4x6 stall mat, and that piece of equipment's about a stall mat and a half, if you will. So like I just don't technically have the space for it. And if I was gonna get rid of stuff and expand, it would just be to maybe put a combo rack in. So the question was things that I basically can't get because of the shape and size and money. I solely for the space, I would have to probably be the hammer strength ISO row. But I mean, technically, so if I didn't want to have 3 or 4 squat racks, I could have like 3 or 4 big pieces of hammer strength equipment. But the whole point of my gym is to be able to have 5 or 6 people training simultaneously without like issues. So I have to have 3. I have to have 3 squat racks and a competition bench. So I'm not changing that. So, but yeah, that I would love to have that back machine. Part of me is like, I could just throw it in the garage and just go out and use it. But then I was like, I don't really have any space in the garage, and it's like unheated, and it's just like gets water and shit in it. So I'm not putting a multiple $1,000 piece of equipment in there.
Yeah. And then Joey, actually this is for both of you, but I'll have Joey go first. What is your favorite discontinued segment of Massonomics? So like some of the examples I have are like Fitness's Finest, Comment of the Week, What Weighs More, or Real or Fake Supplements.
Heavy Thoughts.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll go with Heavy Thoughts because it was always like, it's not that serious, man. It's like not that serious of a podcast. And I love that, like, they'd be like, here's our heavy thought for the week. And it was still kind of just not that serious. I was like, that they really played into that. Can I answer the other question?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
A log, 100%.
Nice.
A log. And I would have one right now if I had space to overhead press a log.
Do you know what brand you would go with? Or
there's a company up here. I think they're called, I don't know if they're even still around. They're called Northern Strongman, and they make a wooden one.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Right. And it's wooden and finished, and it just looked so gorgeous. And it was so expensive, but like just the look and the feel like it's an actual log, I would get that. And even if I think, the plan is to put a shed out there,
yep,
my crash mats and a log might go out into the shed.
Nice.
I like, I wish I could bring back What Weighs More. I like that one just because it's kind of like interactive. So like as they're druthering it out, you can kind of do it yourself and like form an opinion and have a guess and then like get the answer. It's just kind of like, it's more stuff like that's more interactive essentially.
Yeah.
So I like stuff like that.
Nice.
Oh, and one more. Big Frank from Lift Evil takes over the podcast.
Yes.
It was a one-time segment, but just to see them die laughing and then you're standing there dying laughing, and at that point you might even not know who Frank is because you're like me and don't know who anybody is. And I was just like, who the fuck is this guy? And then I went and looked him up, and now I love the dude.
I was so disappointed that because Daminger, Eddie, Emmett, and I all did the Lift Evil strongman comp in New Jersey, and I was so disappointed that Frank didn't like fly out for the Lift Hard, Live Easy. I was really hoping that he would, just because like we forced. He was always like joking that he had hops, which he does. So I intentionally brought my Just Jump mat, the mat that measures, vertical jump. So at the end of the day, like he didn't compete, but like it was 90 degrees out, and he's, I got there at like 6 a.m. and he's out there setting everything up. So like at the end of the entire strongman competition, everyone's exhausted, especially Frank, because he had 3 days ahead of time of preparing everything, and he gets on the Just Jump mat, and he jumps like 26.1, I think it was, at 385 pounds at the time, and it was like, Frank, you do have hops. You're not joking.
A lot of hops talk tonight.
I was gonna say the word of the today is hops.
Yes, very much so.
And then if you weren't into strength sports, what would be your hobbies that would replace lifting? And that's for either of you or both.
I guess for me, maybe, it's a hobby that I partake in already, but it was something that maybe would fill the void. Just reading, I guess, like just something to help with the mental, aspect of just dealing with life, I guess. Just filling, because I need, that's like eight to 12 hours a week. I need to like fill with something so that it's not just watching TV. So I wouldn't get any community out of that necessarily unless I joined, one of the many book clubs that out there that the crew are part of. But I don't know. I'd have to think about that one maybe a little more. But I think reading's a good alternative for me, I guess.
Big sports and books podcast today. Big sports and books podcast. Dying. I guess I've always been like, this isn't this kind of podcast. But let's just say that I'm not like somebody who wanted to die, but I haven't always been too attached to living. So I've always been a rather self-destructive person. And we don't get into the specifics of that. But having kids and finding lifting and then finding the community and all of that kind of stuff, it's not like a reason to live. It's just like I'm less self-destructive than I've ever been.
Okay.
Right. So I'm not going to say lifting saved my life or some dumb shit like that. It's just like if I wasn't lifting, I would just be constantly like drinking more and out there partying and doing dumb stuff.
So like everyone knocks on that one, but like as you heard in my story, like if my brother wasn't strong enough to lift me at 230 pounds, like I'd be dead.
I think that's not the same conversation. I think a strong person saved your life. It's not like if I didn't have the gym,
right.
I would like, no, then you need therapy. You don't need a gym.
Right. But I'm saying like the idea of like strength has an impact on everything.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll live longer because of it. And I'll have better health because of it and all of that stuff. But like, I just don't like things outside of like drinking and watching TV and like, so, getting in the gym and doing actual things. That's what it is.
Nice. Okay.
Good question though. Good question. One more?
Yeah. Cause I always think of that one. Cause like at first I got into lifting cause like my brother got stronger than me. And then, so it was like, well, he's younger than me. That can't happen. And then he started learning MMA and it was like, well, I'm not going to do that. That's too much work. So I'll at least be stronger than him.
Nice.
But then the very last one is more of, as you know, my eating probably disorders, we'll call them. Do you guys, I know you have like a normal go-to breakfast, but do you guys ever have like a breakfast that you just feel fancy eating? Like a go-to like fancy breakfast, whether it's like going to brunch and you always have to order this, or I want to feel fancy today, so I'm going to make this.
No, no, my breakfast has been bacon, eggs, and avocado for like a fucking decade.
Oh,
Like maybe, and I have some cereal or something. Like,
I kind of have an answer. So like I do eat the same thing for breakfast, like 5 or 6 days a week. It's just protein cereal. It's super easy. I can just eat
mm,
it on my drive to work. I literally just eat it out of a red Solo cup with a spoon. Go to town with that. One thing I've been getting the last couple of years that if I'm trying to be healthy and still get some like good food is I've found some places that'll do chicken in an omelet. So like chicken, peppers, onions, mushrooms, whatever, but like chicken as the base meat instead of like a fatty sausage or a fatty bacon. So I guess I always feel like I'm kind of being a little healthy when I'm do that. I don't know if that's necessarily fancy, but
okay.
one thing I only order when we go out because I don't make myself is a farmer's omelet.
Okay.
Like just ham, sausage, bacon, peppers, tomatoes, and onions in an omelet.
Nice.
But it's just too much work to make myself, so I'll pay someone else to do it.
Yeah, see that's exactly what I'm talking about. Because like I'll always do like there's a diner that always does eggs Benedict, but they'll do Irish eggs Benedict with corned beef hash.
I
So
I was gonna say I hope somebody brings up eggs Benedict because hollandaise sauce is trash.
it is.
so every time I want to feel fancy, that's my go-to. But then I figured we would have to get into the French toast, waffles, and pancakes when each is appropriate. So like the baked like casserole French toast would be another one where it's like I just want a special occasion French toast. That's too much work that I won't do normally. But like French toast is kind of like okay. And like pancakes are always like the go-to of like I don't want to make too much of a mess and I don't want to like pull out the waffle iron because that's fancy.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'll always say that like waffles are better than pancakes, but like pancakes are just easier so you eat them more often. And then French toast is this weird dynamic where it could be fancier or it could be, generic. So I wasn't sure where you guys stood on like when and where you choose between like French toast, pancakes, and waffles.
I don't think I've ever had a waffle outside of like a continental breakfast in the last 20 years. Outside of like, I haven't bought Eggos since I don't think I've ever bought Eggos. So since I moved out of my house when I was like 20, I don't think there's ever been an Eggo around me. So I definitely never had it. So
what about like at a like continental breakfast like where they have the waffle maker?
no, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the only time
Okay.
I've had that. And I
Okay.
travel a ton for work. So I always relate those as like being shitty because I'm not
Oh,
full if
okay.
I'm eating that. Um,
Okay.
Pancakes. I don't think I've ever made pancakes at home. So pancakes are always a diner thing.
Okay.
And then French toast is hands down, my favorite, no matter what. But I don't think I would like bougie French toast. I just give me some like white bread and some mixed up eggs with milk and some cinnamon, and I'm good to go. Like I don't think I've never had a fancy French toast.
I would never willingly choose any of the three.
Really?
Nope, not a chance. I will not make myself pancakes. I will not make myself waffles. But if my wife says I made you protein pancakes or protein waffles, I will eat the crap out of those. But I would never choose any of them.
See, I'll never go with protein pancakes or waffles or anything like that because like like for my wedding, we did a brunch and it was so that I could have prime rib and waffles in the same meal. So like I'm always doing like my carbs are my carbs and my protein is some kind of meat. But that's why like I'm weird with that where it's like that could be another like 4-hour podcast of like when and where you do like brand name stuff or like like I'm very weird with that where it's like all right I want my meat to be my protein
Yeah.
or my dairy to be my protein. But
well, next time you're on, we'll do a whole chat about skillet breakfasts.
yes, there we
but
go.
as it stands right now, we've got to make room for Matt. Like we've been trying to get a hold of him for the past like 2.5 hours. So like, dude, pick up your phone because like it was your turn to join us on this round table and you didn't make it. But with all of that said, I have been Big Joey. You can find me on fucking Instagram. Keith, do you want to tell them where they can find you?
Yeah, Big Keith Honeycutt 73, or go follow my Orange Gym at the No Wine Cellar. But more importantly, check out Unpaid and Underrated Podcast on Instagram. Go to our website, unpaidinternpodcast.com, and check out Steve. Where are they going to find you, Steve?
I am at Waffle Iron Gym on Instagram.
All right.
And don't forget to use our code to buy all of that obsidian ammonia that you're going to buy.
Hashtag unpaid. All right, boys. Everybody good? We're going to go ahead and see you next Tuesday.